Dead Island. Where do I begin? Such a beautifully repulsive series. Yes, the story isn't good, yes, the gameplay is clunky, and yes, the graphics aren't really that good. Now, if you've been around for a while or have taken a look through my catalog of videos, then you know I'm a huge fan of the Dead Island series. Ever since I was a kid, I was always interested and invested in the stories and the characters, and although my opinions have since changed from the time I was a kid, I still see this game series as some of my most favorite games of all time. But that's the mainline games. What about the times that Dead Island wanted to branch out from their regular formula? Well, that's where the spin-offs come in hand. But before I do actually talk about the spin-offs, may I ask you like, comment, and subscribe to keep me in the algorithm and join my Discord server, and if we get it to 100 members, I'll start doing better and cooler events, and also I'll post pictures of my cats and my dogs. So, with the ad out of the way, let's dive straight into the good, the bad, and the cancelled Dead Island spin-offs. Firstly, let's start off with a good Dead Island spin-off, that being Dead Island Retro Revenge, where he plays this guy who kinda looks like Jack Black. And fun fact, in the original Dead Island 2 trailer, the guy who was driving the car at the end does sound very similar to Jack Black. Here, listen.
Hold on! Seriously, bro? Sweet!
Come on, dude, time to split.
Freaking awesome!
Let's go!
Dude!
But it wasn't actually him. But I do think Jack Black would have been pretty cool to see in Dead Island 2, seeing how that was a way more goofy game and he fits in those kind of roles pretty well. But I'll save that for my Dead Island 2 talk for when I eventually get around to it. Dead Island Retro Revenge is a side-scrolling beat-em-up where you gotta fight through hordes of zombies to save your cat who got kidnapped by some thugs. That's really the whole plot of it, as the ending reveals that it was just all a dream and now your RV home is gonna get overrun with zombies. It's a really good pastime game, or even if you want something like a classic arcade game, this Dead Island spinoff is just for you. Though, me personally, I don't find these kinds of games all too fun for longer than 30 minutes. But I will still say that the Dead Island Retro Revenge is a good Dead Island spinoff. Now for a bad Dead Island spinoff, which in my opinion may actually be a little overhated. The spinoff in question is Escape Dead Island. In this game he plays Cliff, your average early 2010s white guy looking for adventure, and a hit story alongside his two friends Devin and Linda. Escape Dead Island has a really unique art style compared to the mainline games, and as you can tell, it's in the style of a comic book, even down to the sound effects having visual words to correlate. I actually really like this. We don't see too many good cel-shaded games in this economy because everybody wants to have only the most hyper-realistic graphics ever, which, in my opinion, realistic graphics are overrated as hell. But sometimes graphics aren't good and neither is the gameplay, which is pretty much this whole game. I do like the whole comic book aesthetic, and I absolutely adore the style in video games, but Escape Dead Island just doesn't really hit it. In most areas the cel shading looks really off or just really bad, but I can't knock it down too hard because this came out in 2014. Something else that sets this game apart from the rest of the series is the story, where throughout the game more hints are dropped about Cliff actually having some sort of delusions or schizophrenia or something, I don't know. And Devin and Linda may not even exist. This is implied actually pretty early on. After the section where the boat blows up, Cliff got hit in the head with the boat sail and woke up later, where he goes on a short trip across the island to the marina, where in the office the different telephones ring and give different lines such as these ones.
It's your fault, Cliff. It's all your fault.
Don't trust your friends, Cliff. You are not who you think, but you can learn the truth here. Cliff, can you hear me? Get the gun. Get the gun.
Cliff, what are you doing to me? Stop, please!
Escape Dead Island was a victim to the fact that it had poor gameplay, something this series is pretty well known for. I always found myself swinging at nothing when I was trying my best to move my mouse to hit a zombie that I just couldn't hit because I couldn't turn. Though something that this game does better than the mainline games is the shooting, which I found much more fun and good than the original games. Though when I did play through Dead Island 1 and Riptide, it was on my Xbox, and Escape Dead Island I played on my PC. So maybe it was just better because I had a mouse. Something that I didn't like though was the melee combat, which is absolutely atrocious. Escape Dead Island had a bunch of great ideas, but just fell victim to having poor gameplay mechanics and a pretty poor execution of these said ideas. If you're someone who's willing to push through poor gameplay and insanity driven story though, then I would definitely recommend you play this, but if not, then don't. So Escape Dead Island is unfortunately a bad Dead Island spinoff. The third and final Dead Island game I will be discussing is Dead Island Epidemic. Dead Island Epidemic was a MOBA, or multiplayer online battle arena, and it was where you and a couple of friends team up and fight against others, but there was a catch. You all had mutations that gave you special abilities and moves that you could use to fight other players. The game revolved around Sinamoi from the first game, where he escaped the Noi to another island, but it had also been overrun by zombies. But he was saved by a group of infected survivors who all had special mutations. I never played Epidemic because the server shut down in 2015 due to it not being profitable enough to keep running. This situation does get me thinking, what if in some universe, instead of Dead Island being seen as some lousy zombie series, what if instead it became a huge household name that even your grandma knew? And what if all the games were actually fun with good graphics and stories and characters and... wait, we're not in that universe. I find it a little heartbreaking knowing this game fell off so hard so fast, because it wasn't profiting. I do think this game was really unique compared to other MOBAs because it had zombies. Now the whole situation with Dead Island Epidemic is pretty sad, but we can't change anything about it. But what we can change though is my Discord server member count to 100 members. Okay, I'll stop. So as a final word, Dead Island Epidemic was a cancelled Dead Island game. The good, the bad, and the cancelled Dead Island spin-offs are a pretty mixed bag of games, and if you're looking for more Dead Island games outside the mainline ones, then you could definitely try these ones out. Well, maybe not Epidemic, but still. So that's where I'll end it off. If you made it this far, then consider liking, commenting, and subscribing to keep me in the algorithm and join my Discord server. And finally, I hope you have a great day or night, wherever you are. Bye!